You know, that's an interesting point. I approached the Commerce Department a while back, and you know, as a search marketing guy, really what I could do is help a foreign company market in the U.S., in the market that they've never really marketed before. But the Commerce Department said, well, we're not really interested in helping you because we're trying to help U.S. companies export to Europe. And I said, well, I'm exporting my services. And they said, well, that, you know, that's small compared to the products they're going to import in the U.S. So how do you work around, you know, that's kind of a political issue.
Well, it's the opposite side. Just like we have those, contact those. So when I first really started getting into search, I was on sort of the world tour with the World Trade Organization and went to like 35, 40 countries over the course of 3 years on their behalf, talking about search marketing and digital marketing. So, you know, if there's a market you're interested in, you want to try, I mean, this is the greatest scam in the world. I'm going to say that, it's tax time. So a great opportunity is to put together an interesting little package on search marketing or search consulting. Reach out to one of these foreign trade organizations and say, I'd like to come to a half-day or whole-day seminar. So they'll often pay for you to come talk to their members and do it in Greece or some cool place like that, and, you know, write it off as a business, especially if they pay. It's amazing. People that are willing to come and do a half-day thing just for airfare, there's a lot of countries that will pay to bring you in. A lot of companies that will do that. And just reach out and go to the different trade organizations. Like Jetro's the big one for Japan. Don't contact them. We got that wrapped up. But other countries, you know, Italy. I know Italy's really trying to ramp up search. And just like we're trying to export our products, every single country out there has an export arm. And most of them, especially if you see those country training members, reach out to them and say, hey, I'll come do a half-day or whole-day seminar on how to reach the American market.
Okay.
And it's a great opportunity. And then same thing, if you got any kind of business, contact them. Another two great resources. Anybody heard of Alibaba? So Alibaba is this big, like, sort of like the eBay of business. Go in and find merchants around Asia. There's another one called Global Sources. Same thing. These are companies out there that are trying to expand globally and reach out to many of them. And a lot of them, you know, are semi-big sort of organizations which will bring you out and let you talk to 20, 30 executives. So there's a lot of things like that that you can do. But if you want to target a market, reach their trade organization. Reach their business. And in most of the major countries, we have an export trade or a chamber of commerce in Japan, Italy, and Spain, and UK. Reach out to those organizations and say, hey, can you help me? So there's a lot of things, especially this cool thing, the internet, where you can find all kinds of resources in these markets. And then tie it into a cool trip. Regional challenges. So it's interesting, you know, the whole thing, you know, there's different behaviors between countries. So we just can't sort of regionalize. There's nothing worse than coming into Europe and saying, you know, I'm going to target Europe. There's no country, Europe. How many of you are from big companies? Mid-sized companies? I'm going to pick on you guys. Do you have a page that's for APAC? Asia Pacific. LATAM, for Latin America. I bet you guys do, you just don't know it. It's amazing when you have a company, they have a whole page for Latin America, and that's their token Spanish page for everything from Colombia to Mexico to Chile. And there is no country Latin America, so you won't rank well in any search engine, especially now with geofiltering. So that's something to watch out for. APAC is the big one. Nobody wants to do Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Vietnamese. So they create an APAC site that's for all folks in Asia Pacific in English. And it doesn't rank in any country because it's not geared toward any country. So little things like that we got to think about. Ranking reports. How many of you have international ranking reports? None of you that have international sites? All right. If you do, you decide to get these ranking reports, ask your agency a really cool question. And those agencies, how many agencies we got in a row? Search agencies. Any of you do international ranking reports? If you do, hope your clients don't actually look at the data. What's happening with geolocation, if you run those reports, and we see this a lot with outsourcing from India, they're running it from a source in India. And what's happening is it's giving a signal that they're in India and running it against Germany, and they're not seeing the same thing. They're actually seeing India-centric results. And so that's the first thing you get is someone in Germany calls you and says, I'm number 3 in Google here. but you say I'm not on the first page. And so right away you find out that the agency's outsourced to India or somewhere like that and not running it in local markets. So that's a big problem we're having now with geolocation. So you can use a tool like Advanced WebRank or Agent WebRank, which are actually using geolocation proxies, giving the signal as if they're in Germany or France, and getting the results back that way. Foreign customer service, it's amazing how many people will try to call your 800 number. You know, they may not know it's an 800 number. And they'll get that little warning, you can't make this call, it's a toll call from your country. And they don't understand that message because it's like, well, I just wanted to call them. So they think that there's a problem with the number because it's in English. So little things like that, you know, think about, make sure that you have a direct local number. Legal and contracts, in many countries, you have to actually put all of your terms of service. In Japan and China, you have to actually put your company information. What size, what's your financial dealings, how long you've been in business, and who are the 5 officers. So things like that are very different. And they will tell you to take your site down, especially if it's hosted in Japan or China, if you don't meet those criteria. So just pay attention to those. All right, so what we promised and what you're all here for, key elements of search. So before I go into this, any other questions about distribution, going into markets, anything like that?
Yeah, you said something earlier, I just wanted to follow up on about the customs and duties. Is that something Commerce Department can help you figure out? But if you're an e-commerce seller, is there a sort of a presumption that the tariff or duty is the buyer's problem? I mean, you're going to package the stuff up and stick it on UPS or DHL or whatever and send it, and if there's a duty involved, it's, you know, someone bought it in France or in Japan, they should know that they're buying from a U.S. supplier, and they should know that they're likely going to pay a duty. Is there any sort of rule of thumb about that?
People that have been screwed know that.
Huh?
People that a box shows up and they're said that there's a balance due of $200 on a $10 product.
Yeah.
They learned that lesson once, and probably won't buy from a Western site again.
Yeah.
They don't know. I'll give you a great example. I was on a phone call with about 12 countries the other day, and everybody in Europe wasn't on the call. The reason they weren't on the call, they didn't know about our daylight savings time, which doesn't happen until this weekend in Europe. So all the Europeans, and right away, they said, why weren't you on the call? Well, how am I supposed to know America's daylight savings time was a week or 2 weeks before everybody else? So it's the same kind of thing. We can't assume either knows. In many places, we find that the consumer either assumes that there's no tariff, or the tariff has been baked into the price when you put in country, and then you have that additional sort of tax or tariff entry that's there. So it's something you have to watch. So the second part is we can't assume they know. You can't assume that you know what it is. The Commerce Department can help you. Typically, they'll point you to like the product code, like the SSIC code, and that'll tell you if there's a tariff. Absolute best thing to do is talk to UPS or FedEx, because 9 times out of 10, they're the ones that's going to bring it back to you when they reject the package. And their client's going to want their money back. And so the other thing is shipping. You know, make sure that those things are clear. I know it's a pain to do that for the entire world, but imagine if we were setting up shop somewhere. It's still, that little 2 days of figuring out pricing and tariffs, goes a very, very long way. And that's the big shock of somebody that wakes up today and tries to sell knickknacks on the web, and they start coming back one by one, and then you're paying the freight for that because the client just declines the credit card. And you're stuck with $200 of sending something to Mongolia or something like that. Scams, the other ones, a lot of the e-commerce software will process out scams. That's another big one that you'll get into. In certain markets, 9 times out of 10, the transaction's going to be fraudulent. So use a good credit card processor that will filter out a lot of those fraudulent transactions.